Well, can you give us an example of how a woman you've worked with was missing the opportunities because she didn't know how to segment her audience?
Yes.
And maybe
Yes.
speak a little bit on what that means.
Okay, so segmenting to me, there's two marketing phrases that are Googleable, so it's certainly not my own to come up with here. The first one, and I've been teaching marketing since like the 80s, my goodness sakes, for a long time. So, oh, I'm dating myself on that one, but anyway. So one marketing concept is the letter A, I, D, A. So A for me is attention or awareness. I is interest. D is desire. The final A is action. So when we look at segmenting, for example, we have to segment, do I have my audience's attention? Do I have their awareness of what I'm doing? If I do, then I can pique their interest and move them to the next stage, as it were, for example. If I have their interest, I can transition them, hopefully, with some good messaging into the desire to take action, to connect with me in whatever way and for whatever means that is, whatever the outcome might be.
Okay.
If we add a secondary layer here of the concept of the cold, warm, and hot audiences. So I don't want to use sales language of prospects because I don't see the women I work with as prospects at all. But in a sales world, let's call it that, because we're selling opportunity, right? Here,
Yes.
we're not necessarily selling products, maybe services, but we're selling opportunities. So when we look at the concept of segmenting and we think, okay, the cold audience doesn't know us. They might not even be aware, probably aren't even aware that they have an issue or a problem that could be solved or worked on, would help them out. So it's a cold audience who's really unaware of all that is. They're not aware of us. They're not aware of what's going on. The warm audience is aware that something's going on in their life and they might start looking for some solutions. But when we can message to them, communicate with them in a way that we can educate them on where they are and potential solutions moving forward, that's a segmenting there. That's a whole different opportunity. The hot audience knows us, and chances are a hot audience, because they know us, they connect with us, they feel a connection with us already.
Right.
They might need a little bit more steering in the direction of us being the answer for them, or finding the individual, the right woman who's the answer for them. So the segmenting part comes in. Imagine, let's kind of play with this for a second here. So imagine, again, using the summit as an example, or any woman who's coming on as an expert on the summit. If there's a single landing page that we have, or that women have, with messaging in one direction, as it were, not segmented for what messaging do I have for a cold audience who doesn't even know they've got an issue or they have something going on yet, the warm audience who's kind of aware that something's going on, but they don't have all the boxes checked off yet. They're not quite sure what to do with that. Or they don't maybe even realize the seriousness of it. And then the hot audience, if we are not segmenting by messaging in different ways to them with a higher level filter of how do I get their attention? How do I get their interest? How do I get the desire to move forward? If we're messaging from one direction with no segmenting in place, the reality is we are not tapping into every opportunity that might be in the headlights for us.
Right.
And for women in business right now, what that means is segmenting, for example, being able to ask certain questions with your audience or with potential clients, being able to ask questions to determine where they are. So for example, if I can tell, is it okay if I go in a bit of a story? It's not going to be long, but just to give it context. Okay. So there's a woman who's in one of the past groups that I was working with. She has 3 pillars. So pillar content is a very common kind of phrase, 3 pillars of content. One of them is all around helping women who are experiencing burnout. And a second pillar that's very important for her, very timely, right? And a second pillar for her is helping women increase their energy. So there's a burnout component and there's the energy component. If a woman comes to her website and she just has one message, here's what I do, and maybe it's however it's messaged, but let's say it's messaged in one way only. If that connects with that woman who's looking for some insight or guidance or help or support, then she might take the next steps to connect.
Right.
But if she doesn't feel heard, if it's not an issue that she's aware of and nothing she's really wanting to dive deeper into, she will click off and go to another page. So therefore, in the segmenting, the opportunity is how do we make sure that we're offering messages in ways that the broader audience can feel in some way connected to us. And then once they click on this, we segment them, which means all of my follow-up communication with them is in alignment with what they have already told me is important to them.
Right. And it kind of goes back to what you were just previously speaking on with reference to the messaging to individuals at different
stages as well.
Stages or attitudes, you know, like the one has to see all the details and the other is more of an action taker. And then one needs to see the bios of the speakers because they're all about, you know, the qualifications of
what they know,
who they're going to learn from. So the segmenting in a way kind of plays into that in the sense that, you know, if you segment your audience into the, you know, the cold, the medium, and the hot, what I hear you saying is you want to be able to speak to all of them.
Yes. So really quickly, to give you an example, this is not a rabbit hole we need to go down right now. But for example, many of us have experienced having a chat bot pop up on a website that we go to, or a messenger bot thing pop up.
Right.
That's one of the easiest ways to segment. So for example, if I went to this woman's website and she's doing burnout or she's doing increased energy, if the first message is, hey, which of these two is piquing your interest right now? Which one is kind of the most important for you right now? And I tell her, and she knows that, now she can communicate all about that and not lose me.
Mm-hmm.
If she didn't ask that question and didn't segment me in what I was interested in, chances are she'd lose me. And this is all sometimes why our inboxes get so full of things that we see it and it's like, yeah, but I don't really want to, I don't feel called to click on that because they haven't really proven to me why I should.
Right. I get it. So it's you want to use kind of like a survey or a focus group or something like that.
As easy as that. Yeah. And as easy as a chatbot kind of feature where actually you can have it somewhere in the back in the CRM and you know what they're interested in and you can follow that you can follow up on that conversation. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So now getting to the nitty gritty, what is connecting between the messaging, which is the number 1 pillar, and your monetizing, which is the number 2 pillar? So the messaging and monetizing, how do we get there?
So now we've talked about the messaging, cold, warm, and hot audience, for example, and then how do we transition from awareness and attention, interest, desire into action? The monetizing is actually where it gets into, now we're moving from strategy into tactics now, because now the monetizing component is to kind of go with language that's out there. How do we build a communication thread or funnel, as it might, you know, funnels are pretty common language right now. So how do we build this so that this piece of communication, this piece of content connects with this piece that now, for example, let's say a woman has connected with me and she's in the warm category of an audience, meaning she's aware that she's not happy about something. She's looking for some help. She's looking for some guidance. And she's come to me to see what she can get from me. So if I'm able to put together a couple of steps where I'm giving her information, I'm giving her insights to help her understand not about me, but about where she is and what's going on, then I'm building relationship, I'm building trust, I'm moving her through. We're kind of creating a customer journey, as it were, for her, but I'm not doing it. Yes, there's strategy behind it, but I'm doing it. And this is actually what I love about this work with women. We're doing it with strategy, yes, but we're doing it with compassion to help. Right? That's what it's all about. So the monetizing part is how do we now engage them in ways that they will value rather than, hey, here's my stuff, right? That's pretty old marketing tactics, right? So when we can engage women and have a strategy in place so that we can communicate and connect step by step by step by step and ask questions and gain some insights and share some ideas and bring them into feeling a greater sense of trust because of the relationship we're building. I'm not saying that we have to steer that to monetizing, meaning, hey, join my program or sign up for my whatever and pay me this. But there's a pretty good chance that if we have an offer that we're steering people towards, when we are nurturing them, and this is so important, this is not manipulation at all. No, I got to clarify that. It shouldn't be manipulation. We don't want it to be manipulation because we're smart. We know when someone's trying to manipulate us and get us to buy their product, right? So when we come from a place of service and we have steps in place which move women through a conversation and a journey through which they become educated, they feel seen by us, heard by us, connected with us, all of that, then if I kind of, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent, come back really quickly. There's very standard marketing, analytics that say 1 to 3% of people who come here will do this, right? Very low percentages. And I think, yeah, because you haven't built a relationship, you haven't built the trust, you actually haven't communicated well. When we communicate well, and we finally do come to a place where we've offered service, we've offered insight, we've offered our gifts. And I'm not saying we have to give everything away, but when we have built that relationship, one of the next stages, if they are ready and if it's appropriate for them, to step into saying, hey, I want to talk to you. I want to go deeper. I want to connect. I want to connect at a deeper level. The percentage of women who will say yes to that will be higher because they know that we care. It really all weaves together, doesn't it? In a cool way.
Yes, it does. And so given that, what are some of the biggest challenges that women entrepreneurs face when they're monetizing their business? Because I know there are a lot of challenges that women have when they're monetizing.
So
besides giving their expertise away,
Okay, that's the first one, is giving it away, right? Because we have a hard time doing that. I've discovered
not doing that.
well, sorry, we just give it away. It's so easy to give away. I'm getting caught up in my grammar. I apologize for that. I think that one of the biggest challenges for monetizing for a lot of women is missed opportunities.
Okay.
So there are opportunities, and maybe it just comes from the fact that I've had the opportunity to live in a number of different cultures and work with women in a number of different cultures where we understand what it means to communicate, to connect in their culture.
Okay.
And so my awareness of ways to communicate, where I'm going with this, my awareness of ways to communicate is perhaps a little bit different from some. And therefore, when I can see opportunities for women to create opportunity for women to connect with them that might actually be monetizable, it's difficult to see a woman who's working so hard and trying so hard and putting in so much time and energy and effort and all of that, and not necessarily making a big difference or moving the needle, as it were, because there are missed opportunities.
Right. So what you can do is you help them see those opportunities. You help them.
I do. And this is what I love about my work, because I work with women in so many countries and so many different places at so many different levels in so many different industries and niche markets. And it's astounding to me, because I'm a creative, how there's always ways that I can find that are unique to that individual. So here's what we can do for you.
Right. Because there's different strokes for different folks, but also there's different platforms for different people.
Different platforms and different possibilities.
Right. And because we have such a variety today, from video to audio podcasts to written, which are blogs, to
it's overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's what gets overwhelming. But your gift is to hear that individual and say, I think you would do best in this area, and sometimes bring up something that they never even thought of because of their gifts.
Yes.
And I think that's one of your very unique gifts and talents, because I was speaking with you earlier, and you were coming up with all these ideas, and it was just fantastic. It was
sometimes it comes across like a bit of a fire hose of ideas, and I apologize for that.
But that's what gets you excited, is that you see the opportunities. But that's where a coach or an expert actually can help. Yes. Because, when you say missed opportunities, given the strengths of an individual, whatever that might be, an outsider would often be able to see them more than the individual. And that's not uncommon. Sometimes we don't see our own gifts, or we think it's one thing, but someone else will say, I think your gifts are here, and it might be something you never thought of.
Or have you thought about doing this with your gift in that way?
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So I think that it's very valuable, and something that when we're stuck in that way, that we feel that we're giving a lot and 100% of ourselves, but nothing is happening monetarily.
Yes.
Maybe it's time to seek out a little bit of outside help to see what they see versus what you see or feel. That's just, yeah.
Absolutely. And it's exciting for me because I've been in parts of many, not only mastermind groups that I'm running, but part of kind of the come in on a council of, we got an idea, this company wants to do this, or this individual wants to do this, what's possible, right? So the real, what do we do here now? And
Right.
It's amazing to me that the ideas never seem to cease. It's like, how about that? And how about that? And how about that?
I know. And today it's just, you know, the gamut just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah,
like, but that's why there's experts like yourself who know the possibilities, who know the opportunities, and doesn't have to overwhelm us who want to move forward with our message and that sort of thing. But it
might seem overwhelming initially, kind of in a discovery call, was like, oh, okay, because I get carried away in what's possible.
Right.
But I do reel it back in. So I cast the line on what's possible. I reel it back in and bring it home, because what I love doing as well, I love being able to build out blueprints to show women what it looks like in the bigger picture. Here's what's possible. Yeah. Right. So you don't have to start at that far end. You can start here, but I just want to show you. So one of my clients her intention was to go from 3 million to 9 million in a year. Mm. She wanted to triple her business from 3 to 9. And my question to her was, so how are you going to do that? How do you plan on doing that? She didn't really have an answer. So I kind of jumped in and said, well, is it possible that your plan to scale your business 300% is by just doing more of the same? Right? You just get more people, more clients doing the same kind of work. You hire more people to do the back end stuff here. It's just more of the same. She's, yeah, kind of, right? And I said, okay, but let me so I came up with 6 ideas for her. I'm not going to go into the details right now. I don't have to go there because that's a whole other call. Mm-hmm. But I came up with 6 ideas that had her, for example, building out online programs, building out events, joint venture opportunities, creating books, creating movies, creating international exchanges, creating retreats, things that she'd never seen before, like train the trainer thing. She'd never seen that before. I said, this is all possible because, okay, here we go. It's coming right full circle. It's coming home. You are enough. You have incredible subject matter expertise. Mm-hmm. You just need a little bit of help here and to recognize different ways of manifesting that. Oh, right. There we go. Manifesting and monetizing.
Manifesting and monetizing. Yes, because you, an outsider, can often see what we don't because we're so close to it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's not anything what they thought they wanted to do to move forward. It's something completely different, like you said, that they never thought of. So yes, I think it's very valuable to have another set of eyes or another voice or both come in and help you see the bigger picture. Yeah. So we can't move on unless we cover mindset, because we've done the first pillar, if you call it, which is messaging, and the second is monetizing. And so can you share with us your third pillar, which you say is mindset, and the relevance to our audience in this summit?
So we spoke earlier about the concept of the piano keyboard, and middle C being kind of neutral zone, kind of the centered clarity, connected part, everything going to the left doesn't feel good to us. Everything going up to the higher notes feels better to us. So mindset for me is connecting with a level of awareness of what we're experiencing right now, and having guidance and strategy around shifting how we see things. Maybe a big part of mindset is actually in the stories that we tell ourselves and the meaning that we assign to those stories. Okay. So going back to the concept of the unconditional aspect there, when we hold stories to be true and our mindset is so stuck on that, we hold ourselves back. It's kind of like being pulled back because we're held back by the stories that we're telling ourselves and the meaning that we're assigning to that. When we can release that and move forward, then we're free. Mindset, another component, there's 2 more. So the second one for me of mindset is the difference between feeling as it were, the pressure behind us pushing us into something like, you got to do this, and man, you got to pay rent next month, or you got to get this out here, you got to get this out here. So it's a push, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's a subtle shift in mindset, but it's a mindset shift. It might take a little bit of time to kind of sink in and seep in. But imagine the difference in how it feels to feel pressure to do something, or to create something, or to have something done, compared to the pressure, not the pressure, compared to the sense of being drawn into it, so that you can't not do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's mindset, right? So on the one side of the coin, it's like, oh man, I'm feeling all this pressure, it's pushing me. On the other hand, on the other side of the coin, I'm being drawn into something, right? The third component of mindset, which is so important for me, is the concept of that inner glass ceiling. How do we place limits upon ourselves? And I was talking to a woman 10 days ago, not a week, not two, in the middle, 10 days ago. And she was just offered a huge contract, bigger than any contract she's ever had before. Like multiple six-figure contract. And she called me. She was part of a previous mastermind group with me. So that group has wound up. However, I'm still available for her. And she said, David, what's up? Like, what's going on here? I'm questioning everything. I'm resisting. I don't want to do it. I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I'm ready. It's too big for me. And I said to her, so is there a chance that the dollar figure that is connected to this contract was the trigger for that feeling? And I said, if we took off a zero, right? We took it from $300,000 down to $30,000. She said, oh, I could do that in a heartbeat. Oh. So she became like, her body language went like, she just shifted so immediately. When I said to her, take off a zero, how do you feel about that contract now? And she's like, I've done many $30,000 contracts, $50,000 contracts. That was nothing. But 300 was a number that was bumping up against that inner glass ceiling that caused her to question herself.
Her value.
Yeah.
To question her value and her worth.
Yeah.
Wow.
And another woman, and she's a speaker.
Yeah.
And she speaks to audiences, let's say, for anywhere from 20 to 120, 150, 200 women. So she's a speaker, comfortable speaking in front of 20, 50, 100, 200 women.
Right.
She had an opportunity to speak in front of 2,000 women.
Wow.
And I said to her, and she was not going to accept the contract. She was resisting. She was in such resistance.
Whoa.
And I said to her, so let's talk about this. And what we recognized is, jumping to the point, what we recognized is it was the number, again, it was a number of 2,000 women in the audience that she would be communicating to and with. That number shut her down. And I said to her, so if I put a curtain behind 100 people and you couldn't see that there were 1,900 other people behind there, how would that be? She said, I'm fine with that. It's like, okay, that's mindset, right? So it's amazing to me. I'm gonna steer this in a positive direction. It's amazing to me to recognize the opportunities that are there for us, that are there for women, that are not necessarily being sought after, and certainly not necessarily being allowed in because of certain fears that are unjustified, and they have women questioning their self-worth. Right. Yeah. Which goes right back to the very beginning. I am enough.
Right. Okay. Full circle. So why, I don't even know if I need to ask this question, because I can see you love this work, but why do you love this work? I mean, you said in your heart you're a teacher, which comes across like you just love to give and educate and provide. So besides the teacher, I think you like experiences and so on. So just give us a little insight into that.
I have to go back to my mom. My birth mom, and the mom who took me in as a homestay mom and kind of adopted me when I couldn't. My first degree is in Japanese, so Japanese at university in Canada means you can read and write and communicate at a very basic level, but you can't really communicate when you get there, right? Okay. So I reflect on my mom, entrepreneurial woman, businesses with my dad, my mom in Japan, entrepreneur woman. She had 7 businesses going at one time. She was Sassoon trained in Paris in the 70s, for goodness sakes, for her hair salon. I mean, she's amazing woman. Okay. So what I love about this, no, I'm going to come back down to the heart space, the heart word, the heart language here. What I love about the opportunities that are coming to me now is the fact that, and this is kind of hand in hand with me and the work that I've done with monks in the temples for so many years, we hold the space of compassion. That is what we do. I mean, that's what we do. We don't have a lot of intention out there to make global change by doing a lot of stuff. We are holding the energy of that which is transformation and connection and compassion, all of that. So when I now discover the opportunities that are coming to me are all opportunities for me to champion women who are now, more than ever before, perhaps, stepping up into positions where they are leading the wave of energy of healing this planet. When I tap into how it feels for me to be a champion from, okay, let's make it as real as we can get here. When I tap into the energy of me being able to champion my mom and support my mom, my Canadian mom or my Japanese mom, when I feel what it feels in my heart, what it means to me to champion my mom in Canada, my birth mom, or the Japanese mom who took care of me for many years I was in Japan. Because I'm so connected with them, and because their work is so connected with helping women, and I see these young women's lives being changed, that's what draws me. That's what fuels me.
Making a difference.
That's it.
Making
and
a
I'm
difference.
gonna lose my earbud here because I'm getting all excited.
That's okay. So just wrapping things up, who are your ideal clients?
Great question and very interesting perspective here. So I will answer that based on the experiences of the women that I've worked with in many of my groups and the women I'm working with now. So every woman who has been in my groups, every woman that I'm working with now is a woman who is firmly and fully connected to her passion, which is kind of a given for this summit, especially bearing the title, the name, right?
Yep.
So every woman who comes into these groups and is working with me, be it group or one-on-one, is not only tapped into her passion, but what I've discovered is so incredible is each of them in their own way is open to discovering what's possible, which means at the deeper level, they hold no resistance. They're not questioning them. Well, I shouldn't say they're not questioning themselves. They don't question themselves too much, because some do, and that's why we have that audio clip like at the beginning here.
Right.
So sometimes there are some questions. Here we go. Their energy and intention to embrace their potential is greater than the resistance that they might hold in moving forward. They are more firmly and more fully embracing their potential than they are holding on to limiting beliefs and resistance. That's number one.
Okay.
The second one is that the women that connect with me now, what we're discovering is oh my God, this call, I mentioned my soul sister earlier in the call, my twin sister at a soul level. She is creating opportunities now for women of influence and touching the lives of young women from South Africa to US to Canada, into Panama, and now into India. So when I recognize the potential that we have, again, it's that inner glass ceiling kind of, and the opportunities that remain unseen kind of. When I see now the opportunities that are appearing, that are being revealed to us to connect on as a global community and support women at so many levels of their being to raise the consciousness and raise the energy of this planet, those are the women that work well with me.
Right.
That's who it is.
That's the connection. Yeah.
Connection, commitment, openness, ready to move forward. That's it.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. So you have masterminds as well, and just very briefly tell us. I mean, there are some people that are very aware of masterminds.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I know that they've experienced what being in a mastermind is, and I think part of it is community. But
Yes.
Just very briefly, give us some benefits to joining your mastermind.
It's a really good question. And now my monk self is whacking me upside the head. Because my answer, your question kind of has me steering in the direction of how I would take it as being an ego thing. It's like, oh, here's why you got to join mine.
Oh.
And I get like, seriously, I spent years in Zen temples getting whacked with a bamboo stick on the shoulder.
Oh no.
Right? So,
well, we'll put it in a different way then.
No, I mean, it's okay. I can go there.
Not your mastermind, but what does it offer?
Okay, here we go. How about this? So a benefit of here we go. I'm also so connected with I believe with every ounce of my being that things are meant to be, and things show up, and opportunities show up when they're meant to be, and people come together in ways that we don't even understand why sometimes until we get in the pool and start splashing around together.
Right.
So here's my experience. The women who've been working with me one-on-one or in masterminds, even corporate, doesn't matter. The women that I've been working with, we discover through our connections, not only do we have the ability to tap into my 3 pillars of, first of all, we're going to be talking about messaging and what that means. Then we're going to talk about monetizing. How do you put that together? And we're going to certainly have a mindset component to that. Not only are we doing that, and not only are we building community, but we are discovering opportunities within ourselves that we wouldn't have seen before. So here's kind of a way of looking at it. This picture just came into my head, so I'm going to share it with you really quickly. I promise not to go too long in storytelling because I tend to do that. So imagine that we have a coloring book for kids with the black thick lines, and you color within the lines. And sometimes for some kids, they say, okay, number 1 is red, number 2 is yellow, number 3 is green, color those colors in there, right? So masterminds that I've been part of have taught me a great deal. And I've spent my 6 figures and more going to masterminds and investing in my own education. So I've certainly got a broad spectrum of what's done or what's out there, right? So many of my experiences have been, here's the page, here's what I'm teaching you, here's what we're doing together, fill in the blanks, or paint in the squares, as it were, color in the squares, right? Okay. The difference between my experience and what I'm finding with my masterminds is this. We come in not necessarily with lines to draw within. We might have some guidelines to follow, but we create our own unique masterpieces. So imagine going into, and I give all credit to the incredible masterminds and groups that I've been part of, and training and programs that I have invested a lot of money in over many years. They've all taught me something. Here we go. They've all taught me something of great value, great worth that I've been able to implement. But very few of them have actually taught me about myself.
How to what?
Taught me about myself.
Oh, taught you about yourself.
And taught me about not only myself, but how do I now collaborate with someone here, connect with someone that I've met in this group, so that we create something that's never been seen before for ourselves and for us as a community.
Right.
So this is, I guess maybe what's different. I've also got a design background. So when it comes to art and design, man, I want to take creative control and draw things and make things and show you what colors and show you how it's going to look good. Certainly love doing that. But the difference is that we're connecting at a level where we're covering all the bases. We're covering the messaging, the monetizing, and the mindset. But over and above that, we're learning how to strategize on our own. We're learning from example how we can now take what we've created and adapt that or develop that or take it somewhere that we've never even seen before.
Right.
That's got to be it.
So you're unlocking the gifts that we have in order to be able to share them, and then showing people how to share them and turn their passion into profits.
Absolutely. And what I love about tapping into that passion into profits part now is the fact that, and I, oh God, I'm going to get whacked by all my Zen masters up there. But here's the thing. When we actually can tap into opportunities that we've never seen before to weave in potential of tapping into our passion in order to increase that which is profitable in a way so it's not only vibrational currency if we feel better, but it's actual currency of, man, the bank account looks pretty good, and now we are going on that retreat with David in Thailand next year, that kind of thing.
Wow. Okay, yeah. We'll be there.
Well, you've already got an open invitation for sure.
Thank you. Well, that Thai food sounds magnificent. It's well, when we start traveling again, I might have to make a trip to Canada.
my plan is, normally we live in Asia. The goal is November to March, is to be in Vietnam and Thailand. So, and Japan, because I'm doing workshops there.
Right.
Not now, obviously, because we're not flying and we're not doing a lot of live stuff. Everything is online.
Right.
But open invitation, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, where can people connect with you, David? Because I think you're working on your website, your company. So
yes, I've just finished a couple of mastermind groups.
Okay.
Pretty good sized groups. So sometimes we have 8 and 10 and 12. Sometimes we go 20. Sometimes we go quite a bit larger. Mm-hmm. And because now we're all working from a distance, as it were, we can't quite get our arms around each other, which really kind of sucks, because my mom taught me that you got to hug people, right? Anyway, so now that now the times are changing, I do have a website, and it's in my bio. It's davidtgross.com.
Okay.
And for those who are on the or I keep saying that, for those of, cut that.
That's okay. Summit.
For those of us on the summit, okay, for those of us who've connected on the summit, I have a page just for us, which actually which is where I will have the download for the audio that we heard at the very beginning, and more. So it's davidtgross.com/opportunities. Okay. And that is the page right now where I want to start connecting with people, because based on my last mastermind group, I've discovered I want to open up into my what's next and what's more. Mm. So
wonderful. So you put it out there.
I have a list. Well, and it's quite remarkable when I talk about believing. The seeing is believing, even in the absence of the evidence of it showing up. Mm-hmm. I could feel it coming for so long. And then when all of this happened on the planet here, it's like, oh, and all of a sudden I have at least 12 brand new programs in the works, because it's like, I can do this now. I can do this now. I need to do this now. Yes. Right. Yes. So
it's definitely created opportunities.
It truly has. Right. And I'm trusting that when the time comes back and we can start flying and traveling and being with, in the rooms with one another, it gets even better.
Yes. Well, and that information, by the way, will be at the bottom of David's bio. So if you didn't catch it, just go to his page and click on bio, and you'll find it at the bottom. So I have 4 questions, David, that I ask everyone.
Love it.
That are kind of fun. Maybe not. Just depends on your personality. But
I'm good.
Yeah, good. Well, I know you're just full of fun.
But I trust you, right? So
yeah. Well, these are fun questions. So.
Okay.
If your life were an epic story, mm-hmm. what would the title be?
Cloud Walker of the Misty Mountains.
Wow. That's beautiful. I want to read that one. What name would you give your character in your epic story?
Now, that's a real hard one. Because I want to go vibration. Ki.
Ki.
Which in Japanese is the sound of the character, which means energy.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It has to be energy, because I was thinking, I can't think of a word because it has to be vibrational, and then ooh, ki, that's it.
So it's spelled Ki, but it's pronounced ki.
So I in Japanese is pronounced E. Yeah, so it's ki.
Ki.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Well, if anybody's familiar with Reiki, same key.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very key. Okay.
Qi is the Chinese pronunciation. So Qigong, same Qi, same thing.
Oh, right.
Same
Yeah.
character.
Qigong. All right.
Yeah.
So how would you characterize your epic life?
If the title is Cloud Walker of the Misty Mountains, then the epic journey has to be everything from clouds to dirt, everything from the heights, down the mountain, into the valleys, digging into the dirt and kind of back. And so everything that would reflect, there we go. The story would have to reflect, the story would have to reflect, first and foremost, the gratitude for the journey, no matter where you are.
Beautiful. And one last question. If you had one epic superpower, what would it be and why?
You mean beyond the ones that I already have?
Yeah. You only have one, so you can't have several.
I'm just thinking about the temple work, right? So, oh, okay. The superpower that would most resonate with me is the power to heal across dimensions.
Yes, I could definitely see that for sure. Well, David, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your amazing expertise and inspiration with us about turning our passions to profits. And now David and I would love to hear from you. So go on over to my Facebook page and write a comment. Tell us what your epic takeaway was from this conversation, or possibly and most likely several epic takeaways. And remember, this is where you imagine, create, and build a life and business doing what you love. Until next time, this is the Epic Vision Zone.